Hey, ladies, you can have a guilt free summer even if you love wine. I hear you. You want to stick with your diet this summer, but 2020 sucked out loud and you want to do all of the things. You've given yourself the same mental pep talk year after year, and you tell yourself, this is the year I'm going to stick to my diet no matter how good the brownies look. You're not going to fall victim to peer pressure. Seriously, you're a grown ass woman. You've got two superpowers, willpower and discipline, and they've never let you down before. All right, seriously, we've all done that pep talk, right? Guess what? This is the year that you are going to give up the Spanx and not let that plate of brownies bring you to your knees. I have created a guilt-free summer guide where I break down how that you can enjoy your summer with any of the guilt or shame about what you're eating or drinking and still enjoy your summer. So ladies, I'm laying it out there for you. You got a few choices. You can continue to do keto. You could chase your tail trying to string 75 good days together for the 75 hard, or be miserable eating 1,200 calories. Or you can grab the guilt free summer guide so that you are not avoiding all of the things that you want to do this summer. And you finally are giving yourself peace of mind for not stressing out over, am I doing enough? So grab the guilt free summer guide right now. Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show. Hey, Magic Makers, it's Kim here, and I am so excited today. I try to keep these undated, but I'm knocking on the door of my 100th podcast here. And, next week I have an amazing guest, and you're just absolutely going to adore her. But I was just, sitting down and I was reflecting, and I was like, you know what? 99 podcasts, like, holy moly. And this was just a dream. And I saw my dream realize. And I started to think to myself, I've always been able to equate what I did with my fitness into what I've done in my life. That was like the biggest connection that I made when I first started in this business years ago. When I first started to get into shape, first started to get healthy and started to make this a lifestyle. So today's episode is about how do you overcome you? And I'm going to dive deep into how I had overcome me and my tendencies, right? We all have our own kind of, what did they call it? Self-preservation tendencies. And so the first thing I want to start off by saying, it's time to stop beating yourself up for where you think you should be with your health, right? You haven't failed. You just haven't done all the things you needed to do to be successful. Now, I don't say that to you to start to create you to beat yourself up. I want you to think about this. When I was starting this podcast, right? If I looked at the landscape, there are 1,000 podcasts, and it's probably more than 1,000, but there's 1,000 podcasts. There are at least 1,000 health and fitness podcasts. There are bigger names than me. There are, people with more knowledge than me. There are people with more education than me. There's people, I could list on and on and on all the reasons why I shouldn't have started this. And the same thing can be said about our fitness. We can list all the things like, it's not a good time. I'm going to wait for my kids. It's work's crazy. Life's crazy. Dealing with aging parents, blah, 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 right? There's always going to be something for me to get stuck. And what I know is that if I just didn't just bite the bullet, right? You can overthink everything in your life. For this podcast, I could overthink. What's the microphone should I use? What could should it be on a stand? Should it be hanging in the air? What's the brand should I use? How do I talk to guests? Who will even want to talk to me? It's like all the overthinking can happen that it just keeps me, stuck. I don't know if you've ever heard this term analysis paralysis, right? So I did that for about 5 years. And finally, one day I was just like, you know what? This has been nagging at me for so long, right? And I'm sure many of you have something that's been nagging at you for so long that you're just like, you know what? Just itch, scratch that itch. Yeah, let's scratch that itch, rip off the Band-Aid, and just get done. And so as I have come through this whole journey of the podcast, I've started, flipping it back to my fitness of like how I was able to just like stay the course, right? I've been at this for almost 20 years, right? How did I make this a lifestyle? And, like many of you, I didn't grow up with this being a lifestyle. I grew up on junk food, right? I ate whatever I wanted until I turned 25. And then my body's like, oh, girlfriend, we don't do this anymore, right? You can't get away with all this stuff. And so I'm sure many of you have fallen into that track of like, all of a sudden your body's like, you can't just eat whatever the heck you want anymore. So here's where we talk about that every failure is a learning opportunity. And over the past, 20 years, I've learned a lot, right? I've learned a lot. I've failed a lot, but I've always stood back up because I know what I wanted, right? And so here's what I've learned. I've learned what food works for me. I know what my trigger foods are. I know that I can't restrict anything or I will binge like nobody's business, right? And on a few episodes ago, I talked with one of my guests, Claudia, about, the restriction. And even if it's something as simple as an apple, right? If someone tells you no, you are going to want it like nobody's business. I know I can't follow a diet. If you hand me a meal plan, you're just asking me to cheat on it. You're just like, here, Kim, cheat on it. Okay. Should I wait 20 minutes before I cheat on it? Or should I just rip it up and throw it in the trash right now? I know I do better with guidelines than with, eat this or die type philosophy. And I know that I must prep. I know that I have to sit down on Sunday and say, okay, these are when my workouts are going to happen. And I got to map out my food. That's the only way it's going to work. If not, I'm a winger. And when it comes to health and fitness, you can't be a winger because you're going to have those, I had a bad day. I had a bad day. And when we kind of unpack that, and I ask like, what happened to you? A lot of it is that you just didn't have a plan, right? And so I know I've talked about this before. It's like that good, better, best scenario. I have a client, let's call her Abby, and Abby runs a gym. And, some days, when you run the gym, if someone doesn't show up, it's you, right? If you can't find a sub or you can't find someone to, take over the front desk duties, it's you. And, she's had a couple of, a tough time keeping good staff. And so, she'll write me in her check-in. She'll be like, oh, this week was a hell. Like it was just a storm. Right. And, so someone couldn't work the front desk, then this person couldn't teach, then, this happened and that happened. And then, my kid wasn't sleeping. And so, you're just going to see a lot of coffee and chocolate. And so when I asked her about that, I was like, did you have any plan, right? Did you just like have any food in the fridge? Did you have like a thought of like, if I can't make food, what can I do? And she's like, no. And so, but don't worry about it. Monday, it's going to be better. Raise your hand if you're like, last week was horrible, but come Monday, it's going to be a brand new day, right? We all fall into that habit. And I just need us to like really take a step back. I shared with you what I've learned, right? And so what have you learned about yourself? Have you learned about yourself that like Monday doesn't always fix everything because are you back to your craziness by Wednesday? Heck, Monday night, right? And what is unsustainable for you? Like what is like are the unsustainable things that you've tried that just has to go? And and again, I'll post this in show notes, but I've always talked about what I call the reps, right? Whatever you choose to do, it has to be realistic. You have to be excited about it. You need to have a plan and it has to be sustainable, right? If it doesn't have all four of those pieces, you're destined to fail. And so what I've learned is that I had to break up with my must-dos and I had to start focusing on what felt good, right? Because I was that person who like, I must work out 2 days a week. Or sorry, 2 days a week. I must work out 2 hours a day. My food has to look like this. And, I would, friends would invite me out to something. And I'd be Googling what's on the menu. What can I have? Then what, or if I can't find anything on the menu, what could I pre-eat before I go so I can at least have something? Or if I did have something, what were the things I had to do the next day in order to burn it off, right? So I had like all these like crazy thoughts. Like I was like a beautiful mind, right? Like doing the math, this like crazy math in order to figure out. And so what I had to do is I had to break up with those must do's and I had to start focusing on what felt good. And it was like no more overwhelm about my day and just the litany of must do's when it came to my health and my fitness. And this is above and beyond what I was already doing for work, right? And I had to stop with the overthinking every little thing I put in my mouth, every little morsel I ate, every little workout I did. I had to stop doing that. And so I know many of you are like, yeah, I'm kind of at that point, but I don't know how to get out of it. And honestly, I don't know how much longer I could have gone. But there are two things that kind of helped me see the light, the error of my ways, if you will. So at this time, I was starting to get serious about my business, and I really wanted to starting to get serious about my business. I was done with the 5:30 a.m. Client classes. And being done like 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I was recommended this book called The One Thing. And because at this time, like anything, like starting this podcast, starting a business, I was like, all right, I have to find clients, that I have to market, then I have to, create the workouts, then I have to create the curriculum, create, blah, 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 blah. Plus, I got to train my in-person clients. Plus, I got to be a good wife. Plus, I got to be a good family member. Plus. What do I do? So the one thing, I've done a whole show on it, and I'll give you links in the show notes, but it's basically asking yourself, what's one thing you want? And what is one simple action step you can do right now that will take you one step closer to your one thing? And that's when it just kind of made everything like fade away. Like all the other like moving parts that I was doing, I was like, why am I doing all this stuff? Like, why am I doing this? Because it's not getting me what I want out of life. It's making me crazy. I am a natural stress ball. So it was just like putting stress like feeding that stress fire, like throwing, coal into the fire. And that book helped me like break free of that. So if you're someone who like thinks of like this whole laundry list of all the things, I got to do this, the one thing will help you break free of that. The second thing was I went to New Zealand for 30 days. And I said to myself, I don't know if I'm ever coming back here. It takes you, a day and a half to freaking get there. And I just wanted to be in the present moment. I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to be the, Googling foods, Googling workout places. I didn't want to be that person like putting off, just doing fun stuff because I had to get in a workout. And I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity for me just to test, to do an experiment, right? And so I remember that morning that we left, I hopped on the scale and I'm like, okay, this is what I weigh. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm committed to for the next 30 days. I said, I'm committed to 10,000 steps because we're not renting a car and we're going to be, pretty much walking public transportation everywhere. I said, I'm committing to having a salad for lunch every single day. All right. So like it's me and my vegetables, and I'm sleeping. Like those are my things. And then as far as workout, I was like, this is just kind of like whipped cream, nuts, and cherry. I'm like, if I can get in 3 workouts a week, I will be very happy. Boom. That was it. Right. I was like, those are my things. And I'm just going to not be crazy. So I was able to do all that. 30 days go by. I had a fabulous trip, fabulous vacation. If you've ever thought about going to New Zealand, Australia, I highly recommend it. It's so worth it. Anyway, so I get home and get back on the scale. I was only up 2 pounds. During that time, I ate and drank like a normal person. I didn't lose my stuff. I had alcohol. I had desserts when I wanted it, but everything I did is what I felt like doing in the moment. Like there was no over the top things that I did. I was just like, this is just me trying to be a normal person, right? Because I had I have a client that she loves her trips. She likes to travel as much as I do. But when she's home, she's like, the lid is really tight. The lid is on like super tight, like nothing is getting out of that when it comes to her diet and her exercise. She goes on vacation, the lid is open, and like she's letting her freak flag fly. But I was like, you need to be able to find that ebb and flow between home and vacation, because you're always going to be in this like place where it's like you're crazy or you're restricting. You're crazy or you're restricting, and we need to find that happy medium. And so that's what I didn't want when I went on this vacation. I wanted to start to experiment with like what it is to have like balance, right? And I know balance is this like nebulous word, but what is it like to just not be like vacation mode and just like losing my stuff, and home mode versus like I'm weighing and measuring every little morsel that goes into my mouth, right? You feel like picking up what I'm putting down. So what I learned is that, before I go there, so I stepped on the scale, I only put on 2 pounds, 2 pounds. And if I really think twice, if I really think about what those 2 pounds were, one, I was in the air for almost 30 hours. So that clearly is inflammation. So it's water. 2, could be poop, right? So those are the 2. So it wasn't like I put on 20 pounds in 30 days. I had a great vacation, but I didn't go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? So what that taught me was it was about consistency, right? It wasn't about constantly. It wasn't about, keeping the lid on the jar so tight. It was like being consistent, because that all or nothing, it left me broken. And by the time I was going on this trip, like I was like teetering on the edge. Like I saw the cracks in the foundation, and maybe some of you right now are starting to see the cracks in your foundation. Like, I've been doing, I was doing this for a decade. I can't, like, it's like, I remember when I was ready to stop fitness competitions, I literally cried on the Stairmaster. Seriously? Yeah, I cried on the Stairmaster. And that was a sign. So like, I didn't want to have that breakdown in order to move past this. So it was consistency. So I broke this all or nothing cycle because it left me broken, right? And I get it. That all or nothing, if you are able to like do this, those extremes make you feel so powerful. It is an addicting drug, right? It is so powerful because it makes you feel like this, like, oh, badass, right? The cape's flying from the back of you. You got your hands on your hips, and like the wind is blowing through your hair. But what happens on the other side of it, right? I know that we think that the extremes will get us there faster, but what happens on the other side? I've always been one of those people that people take these like, 30-day challenges. I'm like, okay, what happens on day 31, right? Are you still able to sustain this, right? Again, is it realistic? Are you excited about it? Can you make it a plan for it in your life? And is it sustainable, right? That's what I'm always talking about, right? So lean in. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Change takes time. What? It does. Change takes time. When I first, so 6 years ago, I started packing on literally 10 pounds a year. And I was like, I knew something was definitely wrong. I literally just broke myself. Like I broke my metabolism. I broke my hormones. I broke my gut. I literally was imploding. My body was just imploding because I did extreme so much. I just treated my body like a freaking dumpster fire and just threw everything at it, thinking that I was a superwoman. I am not. So when I first started working with my doctor, she's like, you beat your body up for a decade, Kim. It's not going to be this 30-day, 90-day fix. It is going to take us a few years to just unravel all of the destruction, right? So think about if you look at movies where they've bombed cities, right? The city doesn't come back to life in 30 days. Like it takes a couple of years for those cities to come back. And that's what I did. I literally bombed the crap out of my body. So she's like, if we work together, you have to be ready for the long haul. You have to pack your patience. I have 0 patience, but what I knew is that I knew that what I wanted. And I was like, I was willing to wait for it, even though every inch of my being was like, this sucks out loud. I want it to be over right now. I didn't like looking in the mirror. All the things, I just was like, ugh. But I knew I was taking the steps, right? The one thing. It's like, so when I started to have those like doubting Thomases and I wanted to like press my foot on the accelerator, I was like, Kim, the one thing. What's the one thing? So this is what I talked about. Like, I had to learn what moved the needle for me, right? And I think it was 2 episodes ago, but I'll put it in the show notes. I talked about the 6 big rocks, right? The things that truly are going to move the needle, right? It is not about cardio before weights, right? It's not about should I have a protein shake after I work out, right? If we're not doing those 6 things, everything else is just like noise. And so I had to learn, I had to, really zone in on my 6 big rocks. I had to zone in on what I call those 3 non-negotiables, right? What are the things I can do every day in my health that makes me feel like at the end of the day, I can check the box, okay? And this requires effort, right? Because at this point, I had to get uncomfortable. My comfort zone was go to the gym 2 hours a day, weigh or measure every gosh darn thing I put into my mouth, overthink the crap out of any food that was eaten outside and just be that girl. And I was done being that girl. So I want you to ask yourself, right? What are the daily actions that you can do? Like, know what's going to work for you. And what are the steps know where you want to go? And what are the steps it's going to take for you to get there? And what are the benefits, right, for these short-term actions, right? Because when I can start to, be more rational, that's what it is. If I could be more rational and start to really think things through versus let my gut and my ego do all the thinking, I'm screwed. I'm absolutely screwed. And ultimately, I was like, I want to feel good every damn day. That was my ultimate goal. I want to feel good every damn day. I didn't want to have these days that I was so sore, but I still went to the gym. I didn't want to have these days I was so exhausted, but I still went to the gym. I didn't want to have those days anymore. So I had to be like, that was like my guiding principle. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to lose the weight for sure, but I wanted to feel good every damn day. So choose, what are your 1 to 3 daily habits that you can do? And when I say daily habits, it's not like on point. Don't get me started on point. I can give you a whole TED talk. It's like, I kept it really simple. Sleep 7 hours a night. Eat a big ass salad with protein every single day. 10,000 steps a day. Clear, specific. That's what it is. So pick 1 to 3 habits that feel really good that you can do every single day, right? Maybe one is a little bit of a challenge for you, like 10,000 steps. When the pandemic hit, I didn't realize how much I moved. And then the pandemic hit and I was, we were told to sit down. And I literally went from $20,000 steps to like 5,000. I was like, whoa, darn, I didn't realize. I took for granted how easy it was for me to get 10,000 steps. So when I had to sit my butt down, I remember just taking laps around my house. My husband was looking at me like I'm a crazy person. But like sometimes I would just put my coat on and take a couple of walks around the block just to get my 10,000 steps. All right. So if you miss one, it's fine. But it's like, ask yourself why. Why did I miss it? If you miss it regularly, ask yourself, maybe it's too much for you right now, right? I've talked about my client who is an accountant. And so from pretty much March through May, she's on lockdown, right? She's like, her world is just super busy. So it's like, she rearranges what her 3 things are. And she's like, well, I can always bring lunch. She's like, I know that on a weekend, I know I can sit down and I can make some chicken and I can make, enough chicken that I can bring it and have lunch, or that's what I'm going to focus on when we're ordering it. And she's like, I can focus in on my steps. She's like, I could be glued to my desk or I could get up every couple of hours and take a lap around the office, right? So there's always ways to make wiggle room, okay? So are you willing to give it a go this summer? Right? We're all starting to come back to life. We're all starting to, reemerge, if you will, like we're the cicadas. We've had almost, 13 months of lockdown or, restrictions. And, we're starting to get back to normal. And maybe you don't know how to integrate back into society. And I know that, some of my clients have had that very question. And, I want to make sure I help you as well as my clients get back in there. So this is what I know. When you get your nutrition and your exercise dialed in, you will feel unstoppable, right? No, you'll feel unstoppable. But how do you do that when there's summer barbecues and vacations, wine, ice cream, right? This is what most desperate dieters think about, right? You think about you have to go to that extreme or you have to miss out on the fun, right? They never find a way to be consistent with their health and their fitness. And they don't understand how do you blend it in to make it unique. Well, is this even possible? I got to tell you, it is possible. And what I'm calling this the stress-free summer. So what I'm doing is I'm helping you find that freedom. I'm helping you to, break out of it so that you finally know how to be consistent, harness the power of thinking small and starting to see small wins as a sign that it's working. You stop wondering what to eat. And you start creating a healthy process that shows you that getting healthy can feel easy. So I am all about helping you create that step-by-step plan that helps you break free of traditional dieting. And in Stress-Free Summer, it's a 66-day challenge for women who don't want to diet anymore. You want to find that blend between fun and sticking with your weight loss goals. And let me tell you, you're not going to be starving yourself, no eating bland boiled foods, and we're not even counting calories. So we get started on June 27th, but I'll be hosting a orientation webinar on June 16th, and it will help you to break down how Stress-Free Summer is going to work and how you can integrate it into your awesome summer 2021. All right. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes. So feel free to grab it. If you guys have any questions, do me a favor and leave a comment below. And I have enjoyed this conversation, and here's to 100 more episodes.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay. I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.